If you look at the haptics of the IOL, you realize that they are very large and very slim. I would call them elegant, but that was not the goal of the design, rather the result. We wanted the haptics to stretch out the capsular bag in an optimal way and in order to avoid the so-called stress folds on the posterior capsule. This is why we designed them very large, and also the total diameter is larger than usual. But at the same time, they need to be flexible to snuggle nicely into the periphery of the bag and to allow some degree of capsular bag contraction. It is important not to overstretch the bag. Overstretching the bag leads to loose zonules because the volume inside the bag is reduced compared to the pre-op situation. This interferes with stable refractive outcomes. In extreme situations, the equator of the overly stretched bag can tilt behind or in front of the ciliary ring. For the same reason, there are two notches in the haptics. We call them designated flex points because the haptics will flex at these 2 points when being implanted into the bag. My team is convinced that this design will contribute to exact and stable refractive outcomes of the doubleflex IOL. At these flex points, the remaining material is very thin. During the design process, we were worried that the haptics may break here during the implantation, but this is absolutely not the case. At the first flex point closer to the shoulder of the haptic, the minimal width of the haptic is just a little bit larger than the thickness of the material. This flex point is a little bit stiffer than the second one and allows for the general adaptation to the overall size of the capsular bag. At the second flex point, the minimal width of the haptic is even smaller than the thickness. This flex point allows the haptic to snuggle perfectly into the capsular bag. During possible capsular bag contraction, both flex points will be able to adjust, but more flexibility is granted at the second point. As the material at this point is narrow than thick, the flexing will take place exactly in the plane of the IOL. We are convinced that this contributes to the refractive outcome. If a haptic without this design is flexed over its flexibility, the results will be a deviation out of the plane, leading to a refractive change due to the IOL being pushed forward or backwards or being tilted.